Hello, this is Isa Q. Tan welcoming you to another Asian Agribiz podcast, where we bring timely and relevant information and updates for Asia's animal protein industry. Today, our Thailand correspondent, Payungsak Wiriyabunditkun, is speaking with T. Vachiramon about the use of artificial intelligence technology for biosecurity and disease control in livestock production. Mr. T is CEO of Sertis, a data science and AI research company. CP Foods enlisted Sertis to develop the CPF AI Farm Lab in Thailand.
Hi, Kunti. Thank you for giving an interview in this podcast about artificial intelligence technology in the livestock industry.
Hi, Kunbi. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Before I ask about the AI, let me ask you first about a general question. How do you see farm management and biosecurity in the farm in Thailand? And what are the common problems?
So one of the things we see as a common issue with farms in Thailand, and I believe in farms in the region, is to do with disease control. And I think this is very much linked to biosecurity. And if you run a pig farm right now, one of the main diseases I'm sure everyone has heard of is ASF, African swine fever. And this is one major problem for many countries right now. And we feel that, we can use AI to really help farms get to grip with biosecurity, help farms reduce the amount of diseases that enter their farms, and hopefully help farms prevent major diseases such as ASF from ever infecting that farm.
Yes, you mentioned ASF. Yes, it is one of the biggest issue in the pig industry now. So how can artificial intelligence technology help prevent disease, including ASF in the farms, Kunti?
So Kunbi, I think that's a good question, and it's something that we've been working on for quite a while. And together with one of the top farming companies in the world, CPF, we've created CPF AI Farm Lab, which is one of the AIs that help prevent these kind of diseases by ensuring that ASF doesn't even enter the farm in the first place. Because as people know, animals that are in the farms, they're actually disease-free from birth. Actually, the disease comes in through contacts with people, mainly with people or with equipment that has been contaminated by some another disease such as ASF, and they bring it into the farm. So how this all works is we feel that there are some key crucial dangerous areas where there could be contamination of either from an equipment or from people that will then help bring ASF into the farm. And so this is something that we believe AI can help, because AI can monitor these key hotspots of contamination and make sure that these areas, the procedures are properly looked after, and that people are following the rules and regulations for biosecurity to make sure that the farms are well protected from these diseases.
So you are saying that human interaction is one of the things that we have to monitor strictly, right?
Yes, definitely. People are the main the main cause of bringing diseases into a farm. Yes.
And in detail, how does artificial intelligence software work? How can AI track the productivity of worker and animal health?
Yep. So for us, one of the first areas we're trying to make farms have higher biosecurity is to look at these areas where the inside of the farm meets the outside of the farm. These are the areas where there's major potential contamination events that could happen. So, of course, all farms have rules and regulations to increase their biosecurity. Things such as, people need to change clothing, people need to wear certain boots, certain clothing, protective clothing to protect the animals from getting infected. There's also many rules about how people interact with outsiders, e.g. you're not meant to touch beyond a certain point, you're not meant to touch unclean vehicles. And this is especially the case where, let's say, for a pig farm is where the pigs get guided to go into a lorry, and some of these things, the lorries are, they haven't been sanitized, the people haven't been sanitized, and but the farm workers who are inside the farm shouldn't be touching any equipment from outside the farm. But of course, sometimes people forget, sometimes people, they have a lapse of judgment, they make a mistake and they touch something from outside. It's very hard to protect the farm from these kind of mistakes. And, people have CCTV everywhere. They put in, they put in cameras, but it's actually very hard to monitor these things 24 hours a day. And some of these farms are very big. We're talking about, tens, hundreds of acres of farm. And there's many points where people interact with the outside world. So what we can then do is use an AI to monitor these areas and to make sure that people follow the rules that have been set out. And then we can also alert the farm managers when people actually break these rules or break these regulations. So that's just a brief overview of what the AI does. It's basically, it acts as an extra layer of security to make sure for the farm owners and the farm managers to make sure that when the rules are broken, there's an alert, both in terms of audio alert for the people on the ground, but also it sends messages to the owner so that they get alerted, so then they can take action to mitigate any potential contamination of the farm.
So some producer and farmer might also wonder, so AI isn't software, right, which can analyze this information as well, right? I mean, artificial intelligence. Can you explain a bit more?
Yes. So I'll just give quite a in detail example of some of the farms we're working with. So the AI basically constantly monitors these CCTV cameras for certain events, certain violations. So in certain farms, they would have different colored T-shirts or different colored shirts for different parts of the farm. And let's say the inside of the farm, they're wearing blue, and the outside they're meant to be wearing, yellow. You're not meant, someone in blue who's inside the farm shouldn't be touching beyond a certain line, because that's a potential contamination point. And the CCTV would monitor these farm workers. They would detect what T-shirt are they wearing? Are they in the right zone? Is any part of their body crossing a line? Are they potentially touching anything beyond a certain line, beyond a certain point? And if they do, the AI would then raise an alarm, both locally, so that the farm worker can know that he or she has broken that rule. And also it will send an SMS and also instant message to the farm manager, and with the right video caption to alert them of a potential violation of any rules. So yeah, it's just an AI that they constantly monitors the CCTV, and the AI doesn't blink, doesn't take naps, doesn't take breaks, and it doesn't sleep. So it's watching this thing 24 hours a day, and it's constantly monitoring the farm to make sure that the biosecurity is very, very much followed, and all the protocols for biosecurity is very much followed, and the farm is kept secure.
So that is the difference between AI farm lab and other farm, right? Because many farm, also deploy CCTV camera, but there is no, they might have a software to monitor the pictures, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's I think that's a key difference. It's like most CCTVs they need people to monitor it, and most systems will also require they'll require someone to watch it to alert someone. And most of the time, what we've seen and a pain point we've seen farms is they discover that certain rules have been violated too late. They only know that there's been violation once ASF or some other disease has entered that farm, and they have to kill every cull every single animal within the farm. And then they go back to watch the CCTV, and then they realize many rules weren't followed. The AI is a proactive, member of the team where they constantly watch and they alert before this becomes a problem. And the difference that AI Farm Lab has compared to other potential systems is it has complex rules where you can set much more complex rules about people's shirt color, people action that they're allowed to do, not allowed to do, to be very customized for a certain farm, to make sure that the regulations that's been set to ensure biosecurity is closely followed.
Kun Thi, how long have you deployed AI Farm Lab now? I mean, how many years now?
It's been nearly 2 years. So we've been working with I mentioned this. We've been working with CPF. They're one of the top agricultural businesses in not just Thailand, but I think in the region and in the world. So we've been working with them. We've been working with farms that we've tested in both the CPF farms, when we've also started rolling out to farms that are partner farms of CPF as well. And so it's been running quite well for 2 years. Yeah.
Now, how many farms have used Sertis AI technology, Kun Thi?
I think it's at the moment around nearly 10 farms. They're really big farms, though. So I think when people hear the word farm, they think it's a small farm. But most of these farms are very, very large enterprises, and so these are some of the places we've deployed. And the target this year is to be rolled out in, I believe, 30 to 50 farms this year. So more farms. And so it's been a success, and actually a lot of farms have been asking us to increase the speed of our system rolling out into that business, because it's gonna give them a lot of comfort about protecting themselves against ASF. But we also help protect chicken farms as well, not just pig farms.
Oh, you mentioned earlier that in the period of 2 years, you cover 10 farms. This is primarily pig farm, right?
Pig farm and chicken farm.
Okay.
So, but pig farm is, I think, quite a few are pig farms, and then we have a few starting to have more chicken farms as well. So I'm just going to explain the development. In the initial kind of development, some of the farms are very close partnership with CPF, and we also worked in some CPF farms as well. And so, certain things we just wanted it to be ready and to be tested before we do more mass rollout. And and I believe last year has been a very good success for us. I mean, people are now much more aware of these diseases, and I think due to COVID, it's been quite hard to install and visit certain farms. But now I think this year will be a main year where we hope to expand it even more. And I saw in the news, I'm sure this ASF is spreading to even more countries and being discovered in more and more places in Asia. So I think it's now top of mind about disease control.
Yes. you said that you have employed this AI technology in the farm for around 2 years, right? So in this course of 2 years, uh, what have you learned and how it can improve the livestock business even further, Kun Thi?
So one thing I've definitely learned is that many people break rules, and then that people don't realize. And it's not because they mean to break the rules. Sometimes they just don't know. They just forget the rules. Or what I like to say is, especially in Thailand, people are very kind. They want to help others. So certain rules that certain violations we've seen are like, people are herding the pigs, they're trying to get the pigs onto the car. The pigs aren't being cooperative. So the driver of the lorry jumps down and he crosses the line to try and help get the pig onto the lorry. He's doing it out of goodwill, but what he doesn't realize is he's potentially bringing disease into the farm. So, one thing I've definitely learned is that once we've installed these AI technology into farms, is like the farm owners and managers are now much more confident that their rules are being followed. Because there's no point having rules if people don't follow them. But how do you check people are following them if you're not constantly watching what they're doing? And it's impossible before, but now it's possible. And so that's one key thing I've learned. The other thing I can see is that many other potential for AI technology to be used within farms and within whether it's pig farms or chicken farms. And this is something that we hopefully, can slowly start to expand and start to employ within these farms, whether in Thailand or globally.
Okay, my next question is about the cost of the investment. Some producer and farmer might also want to know about, cost and investment of the technology. So what level of investment putting AI technology in the farm would require, and how soon benefits and returns of this investment will come?
I just want to share that we are working in partnership with CPF. I would recommend any farms who are interested and any farm owners or farm managers who are interested in this, I would suggest they talk to CPF. They are in charge of the business side of this technology. We are helping them, enabling them to build this AI. And so, but one thing I can share is it's not a lot of money, and it's definitely affordable for most farms. But one thing for sure is that even though it might not show an immediate return right now, but if you can prevent your farm from getting ASF while all the other farms are getting ASF, at least it's a money well spent. So it's a very, I believe it's a very wise decision for many farm owners to be spending a bit of time to protect themselves and to protect their assets from getting wiped out by some of these diseases. Because, you only need one case of ASF within your farm for the government to ask for every single animal to be culled. And, certain farms have 10, 20,000 pigs. That would be, that would ruin any business. So, having an extra security layer where you can rest more assured that you're doing your best to prevent any kind of spread of disease, I think is a good investment choice. But for any detail about the investment and the amount, I would like to refer anyone interested to discuss this with CPF.
Okay, Kun Thi. So my next question is, what next for artificial intelligence technology in the livestock business? And how can AI improve livestock and agricultural industry, Kun Thi?
Yep. No, I think that's a very good question, Kun Bi. And I think, livestock business is a very crucial business for not just for the farmers, but I think for food security as well. And one thing we see is that right now, biosecurity is really important. Now with COVID and ASF, everyone knows about importance of disease control. But I think in the near future, there'll be many things to do with increasing productivity of the farms. And anyone who's worked in a pig farm before know, for example, is like, is the animal sick or not? Can you do early detection of certain diseases? And I'm not talking just ASF, just other disease too. Are your animals growing at the proper rate? Are they eating properly? All of these behavioral signs of an issue in your animals can be detected and be monitored 24 hours a day by an AI. So that's something that we are very much interested in. There's also things about maintaining your equipment within the farms, where, as you know, that's a farm environment is a very difficult environment. There's a lot of dust, a lot of humidity. There's a lot of, issues that could go wrong. And when they do go wrong, whether it's a fan, whether it's a feeder, whether it's a water, system, this can affect your potential return on, your animals. And all of this can be monitored by an AI. We feel that AI has a potential to make sure that these farms can become much more advanced, much more technology driven, and yet still maintain, a sensible investment amount. What I mean is, we don't encourage people to, change all their equipment. We feel a lot of the AI can be added to existing equipment. So you might not have the most advanced equipment in your chicken farm or your pig farm, but I think, with the right strategic addition of cameras and of, certain systems within your farm, certain sensors, you can make your farm much smarter. You can make your farms much more productive and much more future-proof. So this is a kind of next step we see, is not just for biosecurity, but for things such as productivity increase, and for things such as equipment maintenance, whether it's predictive maintenance or immediate alarm for when machines were to break. I think these are the key next steps for farms, not just in Thailand, but I think globally as well.
Fascinating, Khun Thi. You mentioned that AI in the future can track the animal health, right? Whether it's sick or not, or early detection of the disease, right? How soon can we see this implementation?
So this is something that, we are an AI specialist, Sertis. We have 200 something people within Sertis. We're very lucky to be able to work with such a top company, such as CPF, where they have, they have multiple, experts in so many areas. And I think the part about disease control will require our AI experts to be working with experts in veterinary science, so the vets within for certain animals, and this is something that I think is an ongoing research, and this is something we are actively looking into. But certain things, it's not just about using cameras. Certain things, it's about using sound as well. Certain animals, when they're not feeling well, similar to humans, how humans cough, animals can cough too. And using all of these potential technology, that's the frontier that we believe AI can go into. And AI can even start doing things like disease diagnosis, on the front line, so they know what to do and how to treat some of the animals as well. So these are just some research areas that are being actively looked into by both ourselves and CPF. But just want to share that our key priority right now is on the biosecurity front, because I think that's a very top of mind for many pig farmers. And also even chicken farmers, they are very aware that, disease can spread very quickly. And it's good to invest in better biosecurity to make sure that they secure themselves and they make their farms safer, and make sure that their investments are properly looked after, and they don't go, let's just say they don't go bankrupt due to a disease, spreading within the region.
Yes, interesting, Khun Thi. And except for Thailand, do you have any plan to expand your business in other countries, maybe in ASEAN?
Yep, that's also something we are very aware of, that this product can also be used in other countries, not just Thailand. Once again, this is something that we value in our partnership with CPF, in that they have multiple farms, multiple businesses in other countries, and by working with them, we hope to take an AI that has been developed by us in conjunction with them to be able to go. I have a lot of optimism about what we're doing. I hope that people can see that actually these kind of technology can be developed within ASEAN, and yet can be a very useful technology for everyone globally. So this is something that we are, we're quite proud of, that we can do something that hopefully will help not just farmers or business owners, but also, to improve food security for the world as well.
Yes, that captivating, Khun Thi. Thank you so much for your time in this podcast today. I think it's your technology is invaluable for the industry. Thank you, Khun Thi.
Thank you very much for having me today, Khun Bi. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Visit www.asian-agribiz.com to listen to and download our other podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Music. We hope you enjoyed listening today. Please join us again in our future podcasts.